Hi, I'm Katie Halcrow with Power Up Prep, and I'm super excited today to take you through some tips and strategies to help you power up your ACT. If this is your first time with us, first, welcome. Second, check out the link below. There, you're going to find the ACT questions and the note sheets that you can do along with these videos. All right, so let's get those materials together, and we're going to be ready to power up. All right, we're back. We're on the last section of the ACT. You've gotten the English, you've gotten the reading, you've gotten the science, and now we're doing math. Okay, so in the math section, just as overview, there are 60 questions that you need to do in 60 minutes. This is more than most students can accomplish in the time given, but that's okay. What I want you to do is just take your time on the questions that you know how to do and not rush. Please just take your time, and here's why. Questions get more difficult as you go along. So don't rush, because if you rush, you're potentially sacrificing a question you'll probably get right for a question that you probably will get wrong. Especially those questions starting in the 50s, like 51 to 60, are super difficult. A very low percentage of students can get them correct. So it's not worth your time like banging your brain out over them. And even if you attempt them, they're going to take a lot of time per question. So instead, what I want you to do is use that time on the beginning questions to make sure you don't make simple mistakes, because those simple mistakes can really cost you. So a way that you can prevent yourself from rushing would be to start the test by bubbling in the last 10 to 20 questions. And you can determine how many questions you need to bubble in based on what your scores are as you're taking the test and how many questions you can get to in a reasonable amount of time. What the bubbling in does is it calms you down, because you are only then looking, like if you bubble in the last 20 questions, you're only looking at answering 40 in the amount of time given, rather than looking at a full 60 places that you need to fill in answers. So it really helps calm your nerves on the math section to bubble in some answers first. And here's why I'm so adamant that students don't need to answer all the questions being asked, right? You don't need to answer all 60 questions to do well. If you get 30 questions right, that's a score of 21 on the ACT. Just 30 questions. So that means that if you only answered 30 questions, the first 30 easiest questions, and you got them all right, then you would still have a 21 on the test in the math section. Or let's say you didn't get all of the first 30 questions right, but that's okay, because if you're guessing on the last 30 questions, then of those last 30 questions, you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting them right. So that would be 6 questions that you would get right. So in order to get 30 questions right, you only actually have to get 24 of the first 30 questions correct. So you get 24 of the first 30 questions right, you get the 6 from guessing, and then you have a 21, just like that. Another score that this works really well for is a score of 26. So if you get 40 questions correct, then you get a score of 26. Let's say you answer the first 40 questions, because that's kind of typical. A lot of students will answer the first 40 questions. If you get 90% of those first 40 questions right, those easier questions, so you only miss 4 of the first 40 questions, and then you guess on the last 20, and you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting them right. So you guess on the last 20 and you get 4 right from guessing. So you get 36 right from doing them and 4 from guessing, and that's 40 questions. So there's a 26, and you haven't even touched the last 20 questions on the test. Same applies if you get a score of, if you want a score of 30 to 32, if you answer you need 50 questions right. So same type of math applies. But basically what I'm trying to drive home is you do not have to answer all of the questions in order to get a pretty darn good score on the math section. So just keep that in mind before you do anything else. All right, so that's basic overview strategies for math. Do the questions in order. Don't rush. Take your time. Do the questions that you know how to do and you can get right, because it makes much more sense to get a question right that you know how to do than rush through something and then get a question wrong later just because the probability is low. All right, so now we're going to go into some specific strategies for answering questions. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. We love to hear from you. Also, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any of our curriculum or other tips and tricks that can help you power up your ACT.